Hey guys, Carl from Purple Misplays. Today I'm taking a look at Transimissions from designer A.B. West and publisher CrossCut Games. This is a sort of resource management set collection game that's all based on this really unique rondel mechanism where you and all of the players in the game are controlling a common pool of robots, moving them around the board, landing on different spaces along that rondel, and taking whatever action you land on. Again, collecting resources and trading in those resources for a variety of different sort of set collection type goals. This is a game that I'd actually never really even heard of, and I was searching for a rondel, a somewhat simple rondel game to show off the idea of a rondel to my after-school board gaming class, and I stumbled upon this. So I picked it up for class and realized that it did have a solo mode in it, and I have been playing through the solo mode quite a bit myself, so I thought it would be a good one to bring to the channel to show off to all of you, particularly because it was one that I hadn't ever really even heard of before, so I did want to share it to give it a little bit more sort of viewed by the public at large. There's no disclaimer needed on this video because, as I said, I did pick this game up by myself for my class, my after-school board gaming class. So with that said, let's head down to the table to see how the solo mode in this one plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a solo game of Transimissions, begin by placing the game board out on the table. And you'll see right away that the board for this game is quite large. So I am going to be struggling a little bit to get everything on camera for this video. So I'm going to sort of squeeze everything in where I can and do my best to get everything I need to get on screen. Then next, each of us, means myself and the AI, will get one of these character boards. Setting the AIs up here, and I'll give myself some space like that, leaving some empty space down here for some other components. The other sort of main piece that will be needed is this tray full of energy, engrams, and points. I'm going to keep this off to the side of the screen just because there is no space on camera for that. But now let's go ahead and set up all of our stuff. So first, for the board, I'm going to be placing out items and ideas in this area, but there are multiple sets of each of those tile types in the game. So for the solo mode, I'm going to be selecting first 3 sets of both items and ideas. So I'm going to just be using the standard sort of starting sets for each of those, means A, B, and C tiles for ideas, shuffling all of those up, placing 4 of them on the screen here. Now, I should then place the rest of them off to the side of the board, but then you won't see them, so I am just going to sort of stack them here to keep everything on screen. Actually, I might as well put them off here just so they're a little bit more out of the way, keeping them on screen as we play. But let me go ahead and give those a good shuffle. And then from this stack, I will fill in these 4 spaces on the board. And it's important this stack stays on screen for you because this will be one of the sort of timers of the game. Now, doing the exact same thing up here for the idea tiles. And again, for this playthrough, I will be using these sort of 3 basic tile types, which is going to be E, F, and G. Again, shuffling those up. I'll place them out on the board and fill in those 4 slots. Then continuing setup of the board, over here I need to take the forest cards that look like this, giving those a good shuffle as well. And then setting those onto the board, turning over the first card to start the discard pile. And for this playthrough, just so you can see more of what comes in the game, I'm also going to be using this optional module, which are these sort of pipe cards that are also part of the forest group. They should sort of be displayed face up, and we'll see. I'll fit as many of them here as I can. Yeah, all right, good enough. Again, I'm out of space. They should sort of be off the board, but I want you to be able to see them so that you can understand what is happening as I play. Then finally, the last piece of the main board, at least for the standard setup, is this area here where I need to place out the pipe tiles. And since I will be playing against the AI, which was basically simulating a 2-player game, I need to shuffle all of the pipe tiles and create stacks here, 4 stacks of 5 tiles each in the bottom corner down here. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and you will see then after they're on the screen what that looks like. And I said that was the last step of main setup, but actually we also need to place out our 4 robots. So we've got here green and red. and yellow and blue, and I get to place those out randomly out onto the board with the caveat that they must be separated by at least 2 spaces in between each robot. So placing those out randomly, we've got something that looks like this. Now we need to set up our player area as well as the sort of solo setup stuff for both the AI and a little bit of additional stuff for the main board. So for my board, I'm going to first take these starting idea cards that have this sort of power symbol on the back, giving those a shuffle. And I'm going to start with 2 of those at random. So taking 2 of those at random, setting the rest of them back into the box. I'm going to have these 2 ideas to start. This one allowing me to spend 1 energy to get a yellow or a white engram, and this one to spend 1 energy to swap the locations of 2 robots. And I'll put those into the slots on my player board. I can assign both of them to a single robot or 1 to each 2 robots. And it's not going to make a whole lot of sense what's happening right now, but I do want to slot this one in here, the swapping one, into yellow simply because I know that yellow can only move 2 spaces, and I'll explain more about this as I get into gameplay. But allowing yellow to move more readily is going to be a good idea. And then I think I'm going to put this one into red simply because red can move 4, so it gives me a little bit more flexibility about where I'm going. So being the collector of sort of stuff could be a good idea there, but we'll see what happens. Then I am going to start with 1 starting pipe tile that looks like this. And this is what's going to take up most of my space on screen. So I'm going to set this down here and we'll move that around as needed. I also need to take 1 set of the deck of cards. There are 4 different decks of cards in the game. This tan color, these blue cards, these red cards, and these green cards. And for me, I'm going to take 1 set of those, giving them a good shuffle. And I'll set those over here like this, drawing 3 cards to my hand. And I'll sort of do my best to keep those on screen. But again, as things start filling up with other stuff, I will need to make some space to actually do that. And I'm going to put the discards up here. And then for the AI, they're going to do the same thing, except they get all of the other 3 sets mixed together into a single deck. And I'll just set that up here as well for them. And actually, if I get it close enough, I may be able to turn it over and put the discards right next to it. But we will rearrange things again as needed while playing. Otherwise, Harvey, which is the name of the AI, does not get any of these starting ideas or this pipe tile. In addition, we need to start with some resources. So for me, I'm going to start with 1 of each of the 4 engrams, means blue, yellow, green, and white, like this. And these are going to slot into this space on my player board, which you can see can only hold up to 7 of these based on the sort of dotted lines that may or may not be visible from your point of view. But you can fit 7 of these cubes on there. I am starting with 1 of each. In addition to that, I will also start with 4 of these energy tokens, and I'll just stick those up here somewhere. The AI does not start with any of those in their own control. Instead, they're going to put them onto the board. So in the center here, where we see green and yellow, I'm going to put 2 green engrams and 2 yellow engrams onto the board. And same thing down here where you see the blue and white. Let me slide up just so you can see that a little better, because the edges of these boards are actually a little bit off of the screen just because of the size of things. I think I can do that a little further. 2 blue and 2 white down here in this area like that. And then finally, same thing for the energy. They are going to start with, or the board is going to start with, 4 energy out on the board like that. And with that, we are all set up for gameplay. So a solo game of Transimissions is going to play out over a series of rounds until one of us completely fills up all of the spaces on our player board, or one of these stacks of pipes is completely exhausted, or I need to refill either ideas or the item tiles and there aren't any left in reserve to fill them back in. And at that point, whoever has the most points will win the game. And points will be scored in a variety of different ways. And let me sort of walk you through the point scoring first so you have an idea of what I'm trying to do. First, on our player boards, each of the different robots, yellow, blue, green, and red, will score points as shown on the player board if their slots are completely filled in by ideas and items. Then certain ideas and certain items, well, sorry to say that again, certain ideas and all of the items will score points. Right now we don't have any ideas that score points, but when they do come out, I will show you some. But each of these items, once they're added into our board, will be scoring points as shown up here in the top left corner. This one giving me a flat 5 points at the end of the game. But some of them will be scoring based on the set collection. This sock says that if I only have one sock, it's worth 1 point. If I have 2 socks, they are each worth 5 points, so that would be 10 points total. And if I had 3 socks, they would each be worth 8 points for a total of 24 points. We will then be scoring points based on our pipes. You will see that each of the pipes does have a point value shown down here in the bottom corner. And this is what you're going to score if this pipe is successfully connected to your sort of networking of pipes. You will see, however, on the back of these tiles, there is a 4. I can draft, and you'll see how this works when I get into gameplay, I can draft a tile that I cannot add to my sort of network of pipes simply to take that tile and score 4 points at the end of the game. But otherwise, I am trying to connect these pipes to my network, and I'll explain that in a minute when I talk about the actions, but that is one way that we're going to be scoring based on those pipes. In addition, I'm going to select whatever the longest sort of line of connected pipes is in any one direction from this starting tile, and I'm going to compare that to the AI's pipes. Now, the AI is not going to be connecting pipes, they're simply going to be collecting the tiles, so they will always treat it as if every tile they've collected is connected to their longest pipe route, and whoever has the longest pipe route will score 5 points at the end of the game. We will also potentially be scoring points from these forest cards, and I will explain how those work again in just a minute, but some of them, these specific pipe cards have points, but some of these will also have points printed on them, and at the end of the game you will score for those points. But additionally, you can see at the bottom of each of these cards is a number of acorns. And whoever has the fewest acorns on their collected cards at the end of the game will score 5 points. So I'm trying to actually have fewer of those, so the more powerful cards will generally have more acorns on them. And then the final scoring is a little bit tricky to show right now, but I can kind of show you on some of these pipes. On the pipes, and then occasionally on other tiles and cards, you will see both birds, as you can see right here on this pipe, as well as butterflies, which you can see right here on this pipe. And at the end of the game, you're going to score a number of points equal to the product, means the multiplication value of the number of birds times the number of butterflies on all of the components that you've collected in your player area. And again, at the end of the game, whoever has the most points will be the winner of the game. And again, after you've seen my play, I will obviously be walking through step by step the scoring at the end. So when you have seen enough of the gameplay, definitely jump ahead and check out the scoring to see exactly how that scoring is going to play out. So again, I'm going to be taking turns back and forth between myself and the AI, starting with the start player, which according to the game rules, the person who most recently received a text message goes first. And for the AI, it says that Harvey has received a text message 2 hours ago. And funnily enough, I just received a message 20 minutes ago about somebody potentially wanting to buy a board game from me. So we're going to count that as me going first. So we will be taking turns back and forth until, as I mentioned before, someone fills up their player board, one of these stacks is completely exhausted, or we're unable to refill this market. And as soon as that is triggered, whoever did not trigger that thing happening will get one additional turn, and then that will be the end of the game, and we'll go into scoring. So on my turn, I'm going to take a look at the cards in my hand, and I'm going to select one of them to move a robot. I can select one of these cards like this that is connected to a specific colored robot to move that colored robot the number of spaces associated with that particular robot. So at the current situation, yellow robot moves 2 spaces, The blue robot can move 3, the green robot can move 3, and the red robot can move 4. But this is the maximum number of spaces they can move. I can always choose to move less spaces or fewer spaces than the number for that particular robot. So if I did this, I could move blue up to 3 spaces. And if I did this, I could move yellow up to 2 spaces. The other type of card is going to show a series of different locations. And for this card, I could play this card to move one robot in any of these 3 locations up to the number of spaces associated with that particular colored robot. So using this card right here, I could move any robot in this brown sort of wooden space, any robot up here in this sort of metal kind of space, and any robot down here in this sort of manhole looking space or pipe space, which means in the current situation I could move yellow, red, or green by spending that card. And when I do, I will put that card into the discard pile and I will draw a new card to replace it. And then I will take the action of the space where that robot lands, the robot that I've moved based on that card. Wherever it lands, I will take the associated action. And it's worth mentioning that unless I have some kind of special ability, I will always be moving the robots clockwise around the board. So there are a variety of different spaces, so let me just start here and work my way around the board, explaining what those spaces do. These 2 spaces in the top left corner are associated with the idea tiles. Each of these idea tiles has an energy cost printed in the bottom right corner, and in order to take that tile, I need to pay that energy cost. So when I land on a space in this area, I will pay the cost of the tile that I want to pay, or that I want to draft, plus any cost that's printed above the tile that I'm trying to draft. So in this case, I would need to spend either a yellow or a white engram from my supply. Same thing for this one, but otherwise these 2 I only need to spend energy. And this one here you can see has no energy cost. I simply need to pay whatever is shown above it. So if this were in one of the rightmost slots, I could simply take that for free. I'm going to skip over the resource spaces for a minute because they will work slightly differently in the solo game, but these 3 spaces in the center of the board are resource gathering spaces. Over here in the forest, I'm going to take 2 cards either from the discard pile, from the top of the discard pile, or the top of the regular sort of card pile. And then I'm going to choose to keep one of those cards, placing the other one face up on top of the discard pile. And these cards are going to give me a variety of different sort of ways to break the rules of the game or give myself some kind of special ability. But also because I'm playing with this special sort of pipe module or pipe card module, instead of choosing to draw 2 cards from here, I can instead take one of these cards if I have a set of pipes matching the shapes as shown here on these tiles. So if my layout of connected pipes matches the shape, I can draft that card, scoring whatever the point value is on that card at the end of the game. But otherwise, as I said, I'm going to be taking 2 cards from here, and keeping one of them and discarding the other. For right now, I will show you this particular card. When I draft these cards, they're going to give me some kind of ability, and this will get placed in front of me, and when I use that ability, the card will get flipped over. Even though it's flipped over, though, the acorns do still count for the end of the game scoring. And this particular card says that if a robot lands on one of these sort of caution zone areas, I am able to take an additional 2 engram resources from the supply. Down here we have the pipe area. When I land here, I can buy one of the pipes here by paying the cost in engrams as shown at the bottom of that tile. So in this case, I would have to spend 2 green and 1 yellow to take this pipe. And then I can either choose to simply turn over that pipe, scoring 4 points at the end of the game, or connect that pipe to my network. And there are 2 different sort of types of pipe connectors. This fat connector here that will connect like that, or this skinny connector here that will connect like that. In order to connect to a skinny connector as shown here, I need to spend 1 energy. In order to connect one of these fatter ones, I do need to spend 2 energy. So again, if I want to add it to my network, I need to make sure I have enough energy to connect it. Otherwise, it will flip over and score me those 4 points at the end of the game. And again, if any one of these piles runs out, that will trigger the end of the game. Finally, the last non-resource space are these wooden dock spaces over here. And those are going to be allowing me to buy items from the market. And the items work similarly to the pipes, that I am spending whatever the engrams shown down here are, in this case 2 green, plus, just like we did with the ideas, any additional cost printed down here below the tile must also be paid. So in this case, 2 green engrams, but then also 1 energy in order to take that. And it's worth mentioning in both the item and idea spaces, this works slightly differently than the multiplayer game. Generally in the multiplayer game, once you've taken one of these, they will all slide over 1 space and get refilled from the stack. But in the case of the solo game, we will also be removing the associated tile from the other market at the same time, so both of them will be refreshing at the same time. And again, when I take either of these, they do need to get placed into the robot's area. I should point out that when I take an idea and add it to the robot, that robot only is going to get that ability. So when I activate that robot, I also get to activate whatever that ability is. Which means in my current situation, anytime I choose to move the yellow robot, instead of moving the yellow robot normally, I can pay 1 energy to swap the location of any 2 robots on the board. And I say any 2 robots, but that robot plus any other robot. So basically swapping that current robot with someone else, taking the action where it swaps to. And over here, my red robot has the ability that if I spend 1 energy, when activating red, I can take a yellow or white engram for free. The other ones over here, this is again, that's spending 1 energy to swap. Again, spending 1 to get yellow or white engrams. This one says that anytime I get a resource or get an engram, I get to also take 1 green engram for free, and this one simply gets me a free energy every time I take an action with the robot that's associated with. Now the other 3 locations are simply resource locations. If I land in one of these, I take 4 energy. If I land in one of these, I take either 1 green or 2 yellow engrams. And if I land down here, I take either 1 blue or 2 white engrams. And these are going to work slightly differently in the solo game, because normally in the multiplayer game, these things are not on the board. There would simply be a supply off screen. And in the case of the multiplayer game, when you landed here, you would simply take resources from the supply and put them into your player board. Remembering again that I can only ever hold 7 of the engrams. Energy is unlimited. But in the solo game, anytime I take an engram or energy, including from tiles like these, I must be taking them from the board. And if there's nothing on the board, then I can't take any resources. And these resources are going to get added during the AI's turn, because whenever an AI would take an engram, instead of taking them, they're going to add more to the board. And that's because at the end of the game, for every blue or green engram left on the board, I will lose 2 points. For every white or yellow engram on the board, I will lose 1 point. And for every energy token on the board, I will lose half a point. So I'm trying to clear them from the board as much as possible. And what that means is, anytime I spend resources, either energy or engrams, I have the choice to either spend them to the board or spend them back to the supply. Remembering that if I don't put them on the board, they won't be there for the next time I try and take resources. But by the end of the game, I'd like to have spent them all back into the supply so there are fewer of them on the board so that I don't get negative points at the end of the game. For the AI, their actions will work slightly differently. I've already mentioned how their resources work. Everything else is sort of going to work standard rules-wise, but I will show you how that works as I activate the AI. So I'm going to take my turn first. And again, I have yellow, blue, or in this case right now, red, blue, or yellow. So the green is the only one I can't move. And if I do choose to move yellow or blue, I should use the robot card so I don't get rid of that sort of flexibility I have. Yellow will get me one of these spaces. Red can move 4, so it could be here, or could be here, or could be here. It's worth mentioning you do jump over robots when somebody's in the space. So I could get resources here, or an idea tile. And it's also worth pointing out that whenever I get an idea tile, I do not need to associate that idea with the robot who's being activated. I could put it in any slot on my board. And if I activate blue, I could get a forest, I could get a pipe, or I could get this down here. And looking at the pipes, this one's not a bad idea. It gets me a butterfly. It's blue, yellow, white, which I already have. It does cost 2 energy to connect, but it's worth 8 points if I can do that. Sorry, wrong one. It does cost 2 energy to connect, but it's worth 7 points if I can do it, which is a lot of points, and a butterfly is nice to have. But then I kind of need to focus on getting this bird or finding birds somewhere else to keep scoring that. But you know what? I think I'm going to do that anyway. So again, I'm playing this blue card like that. Let's keep it like this. Oops. And as I'm doing this, I'm realizing now I don't get a discard pile. My cards are simply going to cycle, and this is just going to go to the bottom of my deck. So I will get a new card drawn from here in just a minute, but let me take the blue robot action. Again, I can move up to 3 spaces, but I am going to just move 2 so that I can buy this pipe. It means blue, yellow, and white go back. And I can choose to either put them on the board or put them off of the board. And right now there's quite a bit of stuff already on the board. And I know that the AI is likely going to be adding more. So I'm going to actually start by putting them back to the supply, drafting this, and now 2 energy. 2 energy I will put on the board because energy is something I take 4 at a time. So having more of those out is good. And because I did that, I can now connect to this pipe. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is connecting sideways like that. And that is the end of my turn. Drawing one more card, which is either flowers or stones, which right now is useless because there are no robots in either of those spaces. All right, then AI takes their turn, and on their turn, they're going to flip over a card and do whatever it shows. Now, in the case that they draw a location card like this, they're actually going to activate every robot that's in those locations in the order on the card, which means that if a robot moves from one place to another, which, no, you're not going to see right now, but you could see, they would activate another time. So right now in wood is where we're starting. So red is going to move the full number of spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when the AI lands in the energy zone or the power station, if they land in the furthest clockwise space, they're going to place 2 new power there or energy there. Landing here, they're going to add 1 more. So I will place 1 more of those out on the board. Next, we are activating the sort of metal-looking area, which is green, moving 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. And when they land at the forest, they will simply take the top card in the discard pile. They don't do anything with it. It just means that that is going to be their card for endgame scoring, meaning the acorns that they've collected. And then they will always add a new card to the discard pile. In this case, this card is an ability that allows me to spend blue as green and yellow as white, as well as the reverse, green as blue and white as yellow. And then finally, now the pipe zone, there's actually 2 robots, so they're going to activate both of them. This is a really big turn for them. Starting with the forwardmost robot, which in this case is yellow. Yellow moves 2 spaces, 1, 2. When they land here, if they land in the furthest forward space, they're going to add blue. And if they land in the more sort of backward space, the less forward space, they're going to add white. And they will always be adding what it shows here. So they would add 1 blue or 2 white, being 1 blue and 2 white. So they are going to add 1 more blue from that location. Now blue moves 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. And when they're drafting here, they will be drafting based on the color of the robot in the order as shown on the board. So yellow, blue, green, red means yellow, blue, green, red. They will take this TV, and they're always going to slot it in the leftmost robot that it will fit. Remembering in the solo mode, that means I also get rid of this. These slide over, which is great because the sock is getting cheaper, which looks great to me. We've got a new toy that scores 1 if I have 1 or 7 if I have 2 of them. And a new idea that lets me move an additional space with that robot. That could be really nice to have for yellow for me, because then yellow would have more options, but that is the end of the AI's turn. My turn. Nobody's in flowers. I could move yellow from here. I could use yellow from my card, my yellow card. Then I've got wood, metal, and pipe, so that means all I can do right now is yellow or blue, regardless of which card I spend. Yellow could get items or resources, and I am kind of looking to get that. So getting some green resources wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't have enough to buy anything here, so coming here is useless. Blue, 1, 2, 3 is the same idea. Yeah, let's do yellow, 1, 2, and I am going to simply take 1 green resource like that. Yes. Okay. So I did spend yellow to the bottom of my deck, taking out the next one is green. AI takes their turn, which is blue. So they're simply going to move blue 3 times, 1, 2, 3. And again, yellow, blue, green, red, they will take this idea, slotting it there, removing the sock, which is somewhat sad. Those slide down, these flip over. This gets 1 energy for swapping, just like this. And the new tile here is a baseball cap, which is 1 point for 1, 3 each for 2, but this also has 2 butterflies on the tile. All right, so my turn, I can move green from the green card. I can move nothing, blue, or nothing. And I can move yellow or nothing. So yellow, blue, or green, still no red. I do have 2 greens. I'd like to get some white for that pipe. But I wouldn't mind getting other stuff as well. Yeah, maybe green is the right answer to come down here. Yeah, let's do that. Using green. Although, hold on a minute. Yeah, that's the only green I can do. So we'll move him just... No, I have to move all 3. That works. And I'm going to take 2 white. Like that. Yes, drawing a new card, which is red. AI takes their turn, which is green. He moves 1, 2, 3. Yellow, blue, green. They're going to draft that one, which does finish up their guy. That goes away. These slide over like that. I don't want them to get more balls if I can help it, because that's 0 points if they don't get any more. Filling in a new idea is I can spend yellow engrams for 3 energy. And here we've got a toaster that's 2, 4, 7. I'm looking at these 2 though. I need more energy. In any case, what am I doing? I've got red, yellow, nothing, green, blue, nothing. Yeah, that's everything. I can move any robot I want to right now. And moving red to come here to get that's not a bad idea. Yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to spend red, because that's the only one that'll let me move it. Red can move up to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I spend 2 green and a white. And I do want them back on the board so that white is still available to me. The 2 greens bothers me, but it's worth it for right now. I get a bird. I will spend 2 energy, which means now I'm out of energy. But I get 8 points and that bird, and that will connect there. So now I've got this sort of L shape starting, means I can aim for, either of those 2 5-pointers, or potentially, no, there's no way to get this because that's a dead-end corner. I could potentially get that if I come off of this a different way, but I would like to continue that curve, which would mean I should be focused on that one potentially to score, drawing 1 more card. AI takes their turn, which is wood. Green moves 3. 1, 2, 3, adding 1 more energy, which means I need to start collecting some energy. Then this guy's going to move 1, 2, 3, taking this card, which doesn't score them anything, but also has 0 acorns on it. Replacing that with this card, which says when I land in one of these water spaces, I get to take 2 resources of my choice, or 2 engrams of my choice. And now we're moving pipes, which is red here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yellow, blue, green, red. They get this ball of yarn. That goes away. These slide down. I need to start getting some items before it's too late. Because again, if they fill all this up, I'm in trouble. And we pull out a toothbrush, which has a bird, is a 2, 4. I don't like that there's no doubles of anything coming out yet. But now it's my turn. All I have left is 1 white, which does nothing for me as far as buying stuff is concerned. I can move anybody because I have cards that represent all of the locations. I kind of want to get energy. Because without energy, I'm not doing a whole lot of anything else. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to move green using that card. Green moves just 1, and I take 4 energy. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Because then if I start using red, I can start using the energy to get some more of those things too, which could help me get stuff. Good. Drawing another card, which is blue. AI moves red 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, yellow, blue, green, red. They take that one. Whoops. Like that, which means the toy car goes away. Picking that hat up might be a good idea because butterflies is nice for me, and yellow and green seems like it shouldn't be that hard to get. This is an add +2 to movement. And there's another toy which would have paired with the one they just got rid of. My turn. I need resources. I'd love to move red, but 1, 2, 3, 4 gets me to pipes, not quite to here. I could get 4 more energy. I don't want to do that. Blue gets me here, but I want green and yellow for this. I might use yellow to pick up a green. Yeah, let's do that. I'm using this flowers to move yellow. 1 space to get a green, like that. Drawing a new card, which is yellow again. AI takes their turn moving flowers. Means he goes 1, 2, and they add 1 more energy. And nobody's down here, so nothing happens. That's it for them. That actually works out somewhat nicely for me because if I use this one for red, red moves 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see, do any of these pipes have birds on them? They don't. I need a pipe that connects to a fat end, which is this with a butterfly. Birds are looking good over here, which means I do want to take a blue, and I am going to spend 1 power to use this action to take a yellow. And that energy I'm going to get rid of. Like that. Drawing a new card, which is green. AI's turn. They've got red. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is sad because now I can't get to here anytime soon. Yeah, no, okay. They are going to put down 2 yellows, like that. Yellow, blue, or green? Yellow I could also swap with someone if I want to. I don't want to. Blue can get me a forest, which wouldn't be a bad idea to get this card, or something else. Green could get me a forest or a pipe. I can't afford any pipes right now. Yellow would get me so everybody gets me a forest or a pipe. Yeah, let's do blue. And I'm just going to move them 1 space. Now, I get to take some forest cards. I don't have enough pipes yet to take any of those patterns. So I will draft this card and this card. And this is a 1-use, spend energy to get a blue and a yellow. And this means when I land here, I get both of those, 2 any engrams. I'm going to leave that. I want to take this. I know it's 2 acorns, but they already have 2 acorns. And I'm going to use it right away because there's enough energy there. I don't need to do that. That means I can take a blue and a yellow. And I like that because I also want this toothbrush to get that bird. So we're done like that. Drawing my next card is red. AI takes their turn, which is wood is nobody, metal is nobody, pipes is nobody. They get nothing. That's amazing. The problem is I still can't get here yet. So I could focus on a pipe instead. Blue, white, white doesn't work. Blue, blue, white would work, but it doesn't connect where I want it to. Green, yellow, yellow works, but then I can't get the hat. I can't move blue anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move yellow and hope that I get something fun from the forest cards. This is still not a bad idea, but I'm going to draw 2 new cards anyway. And this is 1 free anything, and this is 1 energy for green and white. I'm just going to take the free anything. But now I'm at 4 acorns, he's only at 2, so I am going to lose 5 points to him unless he gets more forest cards. But that means I can sort of make up for something that I need later on. AI takes their turn. Let's go Harvey yellow. That's still not good. Anyway, 1, 2. And again, they follow the same yellow, blue, green, red, so they are going to take this pipe. And again, for Harvey, they're just going to make a stack of pipes. They will score that, and they will count each pipe towards their longest chain, which for me right now is just 2, because the starting pipe does not count. But that's my turn. No, their turn, I mean. I really want to get him there. And there's only 1 white here, so I can't even take 2 whites. Green, I can't move them anyway. I can only move green, red, green, or blue. And I might as well move red to get some energy, because having energy is a good thing, and getting it off the board is a good thing as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I take 4 of those 5 energies away, which is good for me to have. Drawing a new card, which is some locations. AI takes their turn, moving both of these guys, 1, 2, 3, placing out 2 more whites, which is kind of cool for me right now. Then they move 1, 2, 3, 4, placing out 1 blue. And then they move blue from the forest, 1, 2, 3. Yellow, blue means they do take my birdie, which I'm not happy about. It doesn't fit there, so it goes there. That goes away. They slide down. I really wanted that bird, but they don't have any butterflies yet, so it's not super helping them. That's +2 energy. There's another toothbrush, but no birds this time. Means I need to focus on that pipe, which actually fits here. And I do have those things, but I still want that. My turn. Red or green will both get me there. So I could play water or I could play green. I think I'm going to play green. In doing that, he moves here. I spend a green and a yellow, and there's plenty of them on the board, so I'm getting rid of them. To take this hat, which means I also need to spend 1 energy. There's not so many of those, so I will put that back. And I slot this wherever I want to. I'll just stick it right there, which means now I have 3 butterflies and 1 bird, which is 3 times 1 is 3 points. That goes away. These slide down. I'd like to find another hat if I can. Filling in here. White becomes, spend a white to get a green. And this is a radio for 4 points. Drawing a new card, which is a nice mix of locations. Their turn. Nobody's here, nothing happens. Yay. I could take this radio right now, but I don't want to. I could swap yellow with somebody else. I kind of want to move red because I want to get green for this guy. Yes. So I'm going to use this water spot to move red there. There or there? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 gets them there. If I'm here, they go there. Yeah, this is better because that's 1 energy. That's 2 energy. That's better. I take a green. And I am going to spend an energy from this to take one of these white cubes. No, blue cubes. No, white cubes was right. Because I want to get this blue, white, white, and I also want to get this blue, green, yellow. Done. Yeah, put that back on the board. Drawing a card. AI's turn. Green. 1, 2, 3. Yellow, blue, green. They take this, filling another robot up, getting rid of that car. Like that. We've got, a sock with a bird. I don't care about the sock, but I do care about the bird. And there's another, when you get an engram, get a yellow. But trying to get the pipes ain't going to happen now. I could move green, but they'll only get to here. I could move blue to there to take one of these ideas, but I don't think I really want one. I don't really need more resources at the moment. I can't move red. So yeah, I'm going to move green just to get them closer. And I'm going to stop, well, I'm going to do the whole full 3, taking cards. Ooh, 3 points. Or spending energy for blue and yellow. I will take those points, for sure. That is another acorn, but so be it. I'm already ahead. Drawing a card, I hope it's green. It's yellow. They are moving flowers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, that actually works out nicely for me. That's 1 more energy on the board. And water is nobody. And I say that's nice because now red can move from the caution zone 1 to stopping here. And I want to get this one here. Blue, green, and yellow. Now I have to either put all of them on the board or all of them off the board. I think all of them off the board at this point is the right answer. Spending 2 energy to connect that. To connect here like that, because now I do have that L shape. So I could potentially take that. It also gives me another bird. So I have 2 birds and 3 butterflies. That's 6 points. If I can get another bird or another butterfly, that would be nice. Drawing a card like that. They take their turn next. Flowers is nothing. Water is nothing. Yay again for me. Problem is, I really want red to come here and get another pipe, but I got to get yellow out of the way first. And then I'm worried that if they move, red goes bye-bye, but that's okay. So I will play yellow. There's no real difference. If I come here, they go there. If I come here, they go there. I'd rather that than that. Yeah, so they come here. And I can take 2 blue, no, 1 blue or 2 whites. I don't think I need more whites. Let's take a blue. Like that. New card is green. All right, great. So either way, I can get a pipe next turn. They are playing blue. 1, 2, 3. Yellow, blue. They take this one, slotting it there. That radio goes away, which is good because now the sock is cheaper. I don't have any yellows though. But I could on my next turn. Put that there. Dice for 5 points. That's cool. My turn, I am playing, ooh. I'm not playing red. I'm playing green. Yes, I am playing red. Yes, I am playing red. Red gets played, but I am only moving 1 space because, and this isn't going to add to my longest pipes, but right now I already have the longest pipe anyway. I want this butterfly. Oh, wait a minute. No, this is even better. They're both butterflies. They're both 7 points. I'm out of space a little bit, but if I turn this way, yeah, I'm going to spend 2 blue and a white. Because if I do that, I only need to spend 1 energy to connect it because I can connect to the little pipe. Like that. Even better. Off the board for me for sure. I'll keep the, no. That goes off the board. But yellow, whoops, sorry. Red does mean that I get to spend 1 energy to take a yellow or white. I want yellow so I can aim on getting that. So taking yellow like that will keep the power on the board. Will I? There's already 4 energy there, but yeah, why not? It's only half a point. That's that. Drawing a new card. Like that. I'm sad because none of this is filling in, but I'm doing great with pipes. Yellow moves 2. 1, 2. They take this yellow, which means they're getting real close to ending the game, but that's fine so far with me. New card, another toaster. I don't have any energy is the problem. I'm going to play blue because I need energy. But no. No, not yet. Because I can score lots of points right now if I play green before he goes away. Because if green moves here, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. I also have this L shape, which it doesn't matter which one I take. I will take this one for 5 points, which means I'm going to lose 5 points to them for sure, but now I might as well keep racking up those points. New card. Red would be wonderful. Well, that works too. Pipes, good. Their next turn, moving green, 3, 1, 2, 3, adding a blue. Like that. Then I will play that red. Because doing that, it means I can move 1, 2, and stop there, spending this yellow and white off the board because it's getting close to the end of the game now. I don't have the energy. Nope. Going back again. Undoing that again. But that's okay. I will spend blue instead. He moves 3. From here is 1, 2, 3. Gets a tree. From here is 1, 2, 3, gets a pipe. No. I'm going to stop there, taking 4 energy. Like that. New card. AI's turn. Blue again. 1, 2, 3, they take this card, which just gets them more acorns, yay. Flipping a new card over. This gets you 1 additional turn for any robot when played. And I got to remember, I still have that card in here that gives me 1 free resource if I need it at any point. But now I am going to play that pipe. Moving red. 1, 2. Now I have the energy. 3 energy. On the board or off the board? I think it has to go back on the board because I think I need potential energy. Those go away for sure. Then I don't think I can do that. Those are going to have to go away, but then I can't. That's tricky. Hold on a minute. That's white and yellow. Those are 1 point each. I kind of need the energy. Yeah, I kind of need the energy. That has to go back on the board. I get this sock. This goes away. I slot that there, so I do now fill in yellow. Yay. Flipping here is another toaster. And a flat 4 points, but that costs 5 energy. That's crazy. New card. AI's turn. Yellow moves twice. 1, 2, adding a green. I need to get rid of some of these resources. And then I can move yellow. I can move blue. He's there. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play yellow. But I'm going to use yellow's ability, spending 1 energy out of the game to swap yellow and blue, because now I can take this one that matches that pattern, scoring 5 more points. Great. Their turn. Hold on, I should have a card first. They're moving red. 1, 2, 3, 4, which means yellow, blue, green, red, they take this, filling in that hole. These slide down. I didn't get the toothbrush, he did. So I don't care so much about it. There's a mug with another birdie. I need some resources, I need some power, I need some everything, because I can't get anything else. Yeah. Let me see, butterflies, I have 1, 2. Just 2? I thought I had 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3 birds. Great. So if I get another bird, that goes from 12 to 16. If I get another butterfly, that goes from 12 to 15. So I want the birds. I want this guy, if possible. All right, my turn. Red could get me energy. I think I kind of have to do that. Yeah, I need red energy. So I'm gonna go, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 is pipes. No, I like that better. Taking 4 energy, and I'm gonna spend that 1 energy back. It's real close to the end of the game. Yeah, let's put that into the box. I take 3 more, and I get to take a yellow or a white. And in this case, I think having I don't like any of this stuff. Yellow or white could work towards one of these toasters. Yellow or white would help me here, but there's not enough energy anyway. I think I want the yellow to work towards that bird, but I don't think I'm ever going to get close enough. Okay. Drawing a card. AI's turn. They will shuffle this deck when it runs out. Red moves 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Puts out 2 more whites. Then from the forest, he moves 1, 2. Now they are getting the pipe that I wanted. That's annoying. Good thing is that adds another bird for them, but they don't have any butterflies. So that's not the end of the world. And there's still this blue, blue, green, but that requires me to get much more resource. But looking at the other shapes, if I could put something there, I have a 4, he only has 2. If I could put something there, I'd make that square for 9 points. And blue, yellow, white does it, plus another butterfly. Yeah, okay. What do I got? I can use, yeah, I can move anybody. No, I can't move yellow. Anybody else is fine. Blue, yellow, white. I already have yellow. Or I can go get something over here. That works. I'm gonna move red. One, 2, 3, 4, and I'm taking this for 2 energy. I'm gonna add that to red because that lets them, in future turns, take 2 energy and potentially then spend it right away to do that. It does mean though that it's not likely I'm gonna do this unless I get another idea. The toothbrush goes away. Those slide down like that. New item is a ball. And yellow turning to blue. AI needs to shuffle their deck back up again. I draw a card. Blue. AI is back. They take their turn. Wow. Nobody in wood. He moves 1, 2, 3, 4 and takes that card, which gets them 3 more acorns, which is beautiful for me. Flipping over another card is a plus resource. Then these move, oh no, they did that already. This, then this. Now pipes, he moves 1, 2. They get a ball, but they can't, which means it simply gets removed from the game. So that's gone and that's gone. New tiles come out. Oh, that hat would be amazing. I don't think I have the time, and I definitely don't have the energy because, wait a minute, I just put those 2 energy back into the box. That was a mistake. I need to leave those there for sure. But now, my turn. Moving red, using the forest card, because triggering red means I get those 2 energy back. I can spend 1 of them to take a yellow or a white. I'm taking a white. And I'm using this card that lets me take 1 free resource to get blue. Yes. And then I'm moving red. 1, 2, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or here is 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I want to stay there. I am going to, oh, I'm going to end the game. Huh. I'm going to end the game if I do that. Is that okay? Yeah, why not? Let's do it. I'm going to take this tile, spending blue, white, and yellow back out of the game. In which case, seeing that I'm going to do that, I would have spent that out there. Again, spending 1 energy out of the game. This gets added on here. Ah, wait a minute. If I do this, it's not going to matter because I'm already winning, but that extends the chain even further. There's no reason to make that square anymore because I don't have a turn to get a thing. Yeah, and that triggers the end of the game, which means he gets 1 more turn. Turning over, blue moves 3, 1, 2, 3, and that simply means they add 1 energy to the board like that. And that is the end of the game. So with that, we go into final scores. There is a very nice pad that comes with the game to score the game, so I'm just going to use that, starting with butterflies times birds. And looking at everything the AI got, no butterflies, nothing. There's 1 bird. On this pipe, there's 1 bird. Here, there's no birds, and I don't think forest ever has birds or butterflies. Yeah, no, so nothing there. They score 0. AI or Harvey scores 0 there. I've got butterflies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 butterflies. And I've got 1, 2, 3 birds for a total of 15 points for me, Mr. Purple Moose. Next is pipes. I'm going to score 7, 8, 7, 7, and 7 for 36 points. I went super heavy on pipes this time. They've got 2 that are 8 and 6 for 14 points. I definitely have the longest pipe. They've got 2 and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they get nothing here and I get 5 points for longest pipe. Now, scoring completed robots. They've done everything except for this guy. So 8 and 6 is 14 and 6 is 20 points for them. And unfortunately, the only one I have is this 8 right here. Good. Now this is where they're going to start getting their points back because I did really badly here. They've got 4 plus 0 for their only ball, plus 5, plus 2. Well, they only got 1 of each thing, and a 5 for the die gets them 16 points. And I only get 1 and 1 because I don't have any sets of anything else, so that's just 2 points for me, like that. Looking at forest cards, they scored nothing for forest cards. I've got 5, 10, plus 3 is 13 on my forest points. Then acorns, I think I messed myself up with this, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 acorns for me. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they have fewer. They score 5 points. I get nothing. And now because this is the solo mode, I have to take a look at the resources left on the board. And again, white and yellow count as 1 point, blue and green count as 2 points. The lightning is half a point. I don't know what to do with half a point when there's only one half a point left, but let's see what we've got. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 points negative for me. Let's say 15 and a half just in case there is a tiebreaker necessary for the AI. They've got 14 plus 20 plus 16 plus 5 is 55 points for them. For me is 15 and 36 and 5 and 8 and 2 and 13 minus 15 and a half. I finished with a score of 63.5. Great score. I did manage to beat the AI, which is a first for me. I've managed to tie them once before. They've destroyed me before as well. This is also the first time I should mention that I did play with these pipe forest cards, so that might skew things towards a little bit easier. I don't know yet, but I will make sure to play a couple more times with and without them to make sure that that doesn't mess things up too much. But otherwise, that is the game. So it is at this point that I do like to take a look at components. I should point out here again that this is the second printing of the game, which as far as I know, only has the deluxe version. There is no sort of standard retail standee version. I'm pretty sure the first version of the game had 2 versions, one which had standees for the robots and one which just had gray robots. But this one is the second printing, which means everything is quite deluxe. Visually, I love the way this game looks. It's gorgeous. The different artwork on all of these cards, both front and back, really, really, really great looking stuff. All of the different items on the different tiles just oozes fun, whimsy. It looks great. It's really fun. These robots, again, I'm going to show them up too close to you. I've shown them to you as I was setting up, but these minis are amazing. I did say in the first printing they were just gray. These are colored, but not just colored. They've got that sort of sun drop wash on them, makes all of the details on them super pop. And honestly, in a game where I might normally paint minis, there's absolutely no reason as far as I can say that these need to be painted in any way. Because again, on the cards, they are already that color. And with this wash on them, they look amazing. These are some of the best minis that I've seen sort of standard coming in the game as is minis in pretty much anything. I love both the visual styling of them as well as the sculpts of them. Really, really great components. I should show up close because I'm not sure you could see this on camera. These might do with a wash to make it a little bit clearer, but to help with any potential color blindness issues, each of the 4 engram colors has a different logo sort of embossed into it. They're a little bit hard to see, especially this yellow one, so a wash on those might help. But anyway, I appreciate that those are there because these are obviously plastic pieces, so you can't really print onto them too well. So to have them stamped into that like that, really, really helpful. There's also this nice container. These points I didn't use. You'll see why in a minute because there are a bunch of other tiles I didn't use in this game, so I want to show those off to you as well. But before I do that, I just want to say again how much I love the look of this game. Also, these player boards are dual layered. Everything fits in very nicely. One small issue, not really an issue, is that these have these sort of double dotted lines separating these. These all fit perfectly in there, and the singles fill the single and the doubles fill the double. But these are supposed to only hold 7 resources, and if I put 7 resources in, there's clearly space for more, but that's because they're supposed to sort of fit with these double lines in between, like that, in which case it is filled up. It's just a little bit of a small nitpick because I could potentially fit an 8th resource in there and I'm not allowed to hold 8 resources. So you do have to pay attention to that while you're playing, but otherwise really nice. Also really cool that they put this little sort of punch out at the bottom so it's very easy to get these tiles back out again at the end of the gameplay by lifting from that spot, because otherwise if it was full and it was flat, getting them out here you might start scuffing up your tokens a little bit. So then looking at some of the other modules in the game, remember there are 3 more sets of both items and idea tiles. So let me give you a quick look at those. First, for the items, we've got the D set. And the D set is simply just different items that are worth different scoring. We've got this flashlight, gloves that score 2 and 3. But you'll see that these gloves, oh no, those are shoes, sorry, 3 and 4, balloon 0, 4s, again, shoes and gloves. Lots of birds and butterflies on these guys, but nothing special as far as rules changing in any kind of way. Then you've got the set of Q tiles. And these Q tiles, well, in addition to having these sort of 3, 5, 6 jelly and paintbrush and tape 2, 5, 6, also has these wild resources or wild items. And they don't score anything, but they can be part of sets that match the same number. So this salt could be counted as tape, or could be counted as paintbrush, or could be counted as this, I guess, jam. Likewise, these keys and keychain here would pair up with things that have 2 scoring powers like this, becoming one of those as a wild. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility when the right items aren't coming out for you. Then the X set of items here has a different kind of strange item scoring in that these you have to sort of have things at the end of the game to score. So for every 4 pipes you get 2 points. For every 5 ideas you get 2 points. This is just a 0, 1. For every 4 items is 2 points. And then these are just normal sets of items. Then for the idea tiles, the H set here, we've got 2 points with butterflies. So now butterflies are showing up on here. 2 energy makes a green. 2 energy makes a blue. 1 point and a bird. 2 energy gets you a forest card. This one lets you move backwards on the board, meaning you can go counterclockwise on the board. And this one lets you jump ahead 1 space. Sorry, not 1 space, but any space on the board, which is pretty powerful for 1 energy. Next, we've got the R idea tiles, which are going to have some point scoring opportunities here, spending yellows to get 1 point. Here's a point in a bird, plus 2 energy. Green gets you 2 points. White gets you 1 point. Again, moving reverse. Blue gets 2 points. and that is those. The last set is the Z idea tiles. And these are going to let you make use of ideas that are on different robots. So for example, if I put this here in this blue robot, the blue robot can make use of any ideas in the yellow robot's space. Here is simply 2 butterflies. Oops. Here is spend any 2 engrams to get 1 engram. 3 energy. This one is the opposite of the idea I just showed you. If I put that, for example, here in this green robot, they could then make use of any one thing in the red side. This one gets you 2 energy anytime you get an engram. And this one lets you spend 3 energy for any engram. These are super powerful and would mix up the game quite a bit. I do want to come back. I did make one small mistake in the items. These 3 items here, this is not 4 of those becomes 2 points. Each of those is worth 2 points up to a maximum of 4. So it can spend 4 of, not spend, but get up to 8 points by having 4 or more of those. Same thing here is not 5 get you 2, but up to 5 of those will score 2 points each at the end of the game. So really cool way to add extra endgame scoring into the game. There is one last module. I haven't tried it in solo, and I'm not sure how it's going to work in solo, but I should do just so I can report back in my final thoughts. And that is these transformer tiles. There are 2 of them. This blue one gets placed into the meadow. This red one gets placed into the lake. And what that means is when you go to those locations, instead of gaining resources, you can instead do what it shows here. So here it says I could spend 1 idea. It means removing it from my board to score 2 points, or spend 3 energy to score 2 points. And when I do that, it flips over. And now I can spend an idea to get 4 points, or spend 2 energy to get 1 point. And it's going to keep flipping back and forth, scoring that way. Here I can discard an item from my board for 7 points, or 2 energy for 1 point, and then it flips an item from my board for 5 points and 3 energy for 2 points. So this is just an extra way to make these spaces a little bit more exciting, since you don't always need to pick up resources and you might be trying to score points in other ways. This might be a good way to do it. It would also be good, for example, this item scoring up to 7 points would be huge if, for example, you found yourself with this ball that scores 0 points unless you can get 2 of them. And then at the end of the game, this is useless. So if I could have gone to this space, or in this case, the AI could have gone to this space and sold that to get 7 points instead of 0. Now, I said I haven't used this in the solo mode because it doesn't really say in the rules how to do that. I mean, I could just use it for myself, but there are no rules in the solo mode for the AI that explains how they would make use of those. So I'm not sure that you can do that in the solo mode, or you would basically just give yourself the extra ability. So that's basically all I have to show you for components. I do want to show you, however, the insert for the game. I did already show you this tray, and I should point out that this tray also has a lid that goes on it to keep everything nice and secure inside that box. And then pulling in the game box itself, another really nice insert space in here. The regular size cards means all of these robot cards can be split into 2 piles to go into those 2 locations. All of these small cards means the forest cards will go into these slots like that. The 4 robots all get their own space in the box. And then let's see if I get lucky putting them all back where they belong. I think I might. Nope. Oh yeah, that worked. Okay, good. The 4 robots go in there. All of these starting idea tiles get placed into this slot standing up. And then all of these starting pipe tiles get placed on top of those in this little slot like that. Then down here in these spaces, all of the regular ideas stand up in this row here. All of the regular items are going to slot into these right here. And you'll see that it's got this little sort of variegation on the ground to make them all sort of lean and fit in there nicely. And all of these pipe tiles will fit, making sure that they're flat on the bottom, will fit into this section right here, filling that up. The 2, where did I put those? tiles that I showed you with that module will fit here in this little cutout above the idea tokens. And then this tray does slot right into there with the board fitting on top of that and all the player boards as well. Very, very nice insert. And again, as I said, as far as I know, there's only one version of this game as far as this printing is concerned. So this is the way the game comes, and I'm very happy with the way that the game organizes. That's basically all I have to show you about the components. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. So here we go, Transimissions. As I said up front, this is a game I picked up to show off a rondel mechanism to the students in my board gaming class. And I have to say, boy, am I glad that I did. I still have no idea how I've never heard of this game before because, wow, this game absolutely deserves the attention that it didn't really get. At least as far as I know, I hadn't seen much anything on this game. So I really, really wanted to show this off to you because I have to say I've been having a blast with this game. First off, I already showed you in the components section of this video just how wonderful this game looks and feels. Just having it out on the table is just a lot of fun to play with because it just looks great, it feels great. Those robot minis are really, really, really cool and everything just sort of pulls you into the game. But the gameplay itself is also a whole lot of fun as well. So again, at its core, this game is a rondel. And if you don't know what a rondel is, basically a rondel is some kind of circular track that you are moving around in a circle, stopping along the way to activate different actions depending on the space that you land on. And pretty much every game that uses a rondel twists it up in some way, but there's generally the idea that you can only move in one direction around the track, and there's some kind of limitation as to how far you can move. Sometimes you need to spend extra resources to move further along, and so on. In this case, there are 4 robots that are randomly scattered around this rondel at the beginning of the game. And every player has a hand of cards, of which you're going to have 3 in your hand every round, or every turn, basically. And you're going to select one of those cards to basically activate one of the robots on that rondel. And the cards are either going to be a specific colored robot, or one of either 2 or 3 sort of selections of location types on the board. And then you can sort of activate any one robot that's standing on any of those location types that are shown on the card. But in either case, you're choosing one card to then basically choose a robot to activate that turn. And depending on which robot you activate, that specific colored robot will have a number of spaces that it's allowed to move on its turn. So the yellow robot starts off moving 2, blue and green move 3 spaces each, and the red robot can move 4. But actually up to 2, 3, or 4, because you can always choose to move fewer spaces than that maximum movement point allowance that each robot has. In addition, if along that path of movement there are any other robots on a space where you would normally land, you skip over that robot, not counting that space. So you can kind of extend the distance of how far the robots can move by piggybacking or sort of leapfrogging over the other robots as you go around this rondel. But ultimately, you're going around the rondel to try and get specific robots to land on specific locations. And I believe there are, off the top of my head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 7 locations on the board. 3 of those locations are simply resource gathering locations. There's an energy location where you're simply picking up 4 energy tokens. And then there are 2 separate resources that you're picking up these little cubes called engrams. One location is green and yellow, the other is blue and white. If you go to green and yellow, you can choose to either take 1 green or 2 yellow. And if you go to blue or white, you can choose to take 1 blue or 2 white. And you're collecting those cubes and that energy in order to do other things on your turn at the 3 locations. Sorry, 3 of the other 4 locations. The final location that's not related to those resources or the sort of set collection spending of resources locations is the farce. So let me talk about that one first, and then we'll talk about sort of the main meat of the game, which is trading your resources or your engrams into getting stuff for your player board. But the last location is the forest, and in the forest you're just drawing cards. You can choose to take 2, well, you draw 2 cards, either from the top of the deck or the top of the discard pile. And then from the 2 cards you've drawn, you're going to select one of them to keep. And each of these cards is simply going to give you some kind of one-off ability that lets you break the rules in some way, giving an extra robot an extra turn, or potentially getting a free resource, or potentially spending energy to get 2 free resources, or possibly when you go to a certain location you get some free resources, or possibly using one resource in place of another resource. And some of them even just have a flat point score that will score you at the end of the game. And I'll talk more about these forest cards later because they also tie into one final sort of small point scoring thing that happens during final game scoring. But then the main meat of the game is taking those engrams, those cubes that you're collecting in blue, white, green, and yellow, and spending them to get stuff to add into your player area. Each player has basically, it's almost like a sort of programming tableau to control the 4 different robots. So everybody's going to have a slightly different control over the 4 robots depending how they've sort of upgraded their own player tableau. Because each robot has a column of spaces, and in those spaces you can fit like a 1-block rectangle, which is called an idea, or a 2-block square, which is an item, and you're going to be slotting those into the robot's columns. The items do take up 2 sort of rows on that column, and they don't do anything aside from scoring at the end of the game. Most of them are going to be scoring either a flat set of points or an increasingly growing flat number of points if you collect more than one of the same item type. Some of them also score off of wilds, which means that they score based on other groups of items. They sort of add themselves into a group of a specific type or any specific type, so long as they match the same sort of size as the group that they're matching. And the ideas are more interesting. Those are the 1-row slots. They fill up less of the robot's board, but each of these robots is basically giving that, whatever robot you're slotting it into, giving that robot some ability. So it might be adding extra additional spaces they can move when they move their space. It might be giving you the option that instead of moving that robot when they're activated, you can switch their space with another robot by spending resources, by spending energy. It might give the robot the opportunity to move backwards on the rondel. It might simply just give you free energy when you activate that robot. It might score you points at the end of the game. It might give you the ability to trade in resources to score points. And there are a variety of different things, but basically what you're doing is you're sort of upgrading your robot by adding in these different ideas so that each person's robot gets some kind of unique ability. So it's giving you some variability about how you personally interact with the robots on the board. And it gives you more flexibility, and it gives you more ways to collect resources that, again, you need to buy more of these ideas and buy more of these items to ultimately get a bunch of items to score a bunch of points, hopefully collecting large numbers of the same kind of item to build on or to make use of that growing and building, cascading sort of bonus points for getting multiple objects of a certain type. But the other thing that you're spending your resources on, and that's going to be basically spending both the engrams and the energy, is to buy pieces of pipe. So at the beginning of the game, you start with a pipe sort of hub that has 2 small pipes and 2 large pipes growing off of it. And then when you go to the pipe spaces, you're going to spend a certain grouping of engrams, depending on which pipe you're buying, to buy a piece of pipe. And that pipe is going to connect to either large or small pipes, and it may actually have both depending on the shape and size of that pipe tile you're taking. But then you have to pay energy to connect that pipe onto the pipe system that you've already got growing in front of you in your player area. And if you're connecting to a small pipe, you pay 1 energy. And if you're connecting to a big pipe, you're paying 2 energy. And you're hoping to grow out this pipe system because, well, first off, if you can connect the pipe, you score the points for that pipe tile. If you can't spend the energy to connect it, it's simply going to flip over and give you a flat 4 points for having taken 1 more pipe tile. But then also at the end of the game, whoever has the longest single sort of extension from that pipe hub gets an additional 5 points for having created that longest pipe. So basically, this is the game. You're going around this circle, choosing robots to move based on the cards that you're playing, collecting different resources to spend to get ideas to level up your robots, to get items for endgame scoring, set collection scoring, and to get pipes to build out these giant pipes, collecting forest cards occasionally then to also get special abilities that allow you to get more resources, that allow you to interact with the game in different ways. And you continue doing this until you can't refill the ideas, you can't refill the items, you empty 1 full stack of pipe tiles, or somebody fills in their entire robot board, all 4 columns completely full. And then at the end of the game, you are scoring based on, as I've said already, the pipes, whoever has the longest pipe, the point values on the items you bought, but then you're also scoring points for any robot column that you've completely filled in with stuff. And you're also scoring, well, if you have any flat points on those forest cards. But then you're also scoring two other things. On some of the item tiles, on some of the idea tiles, and on some of the pipe tiles, you're going to find birds and you're going to find butterflies. And at the end of the game, you're going to count up all your birds and you're going to count up all your butterflies and you're going to multiply the score of birds times butterflies to get another sort of boost to your endgame score. And then finally, also, you're going to look at the forest cards. At the bottom of the forest cards, there are a number of acorns. You're going to add up all the acorns on all of the cards that you've gotten from the forest, whether you've used them or not for their ability. And whoever has the most acorns, whoever has backwards the fewest number of acorns is going to score 5 points. So you want to have the longest pipe, but you want to have the fewest number of acorns. So when you're taking forest cards, you kind of want to pay attention to what's going on at the table and only take forest cards if they're getting you stuff that's going to get you more points, or making sure that somebody else has more than you when you're taking cards so at the end of the game you can still get that 5 points. All of this stuff together, it sounds like a lot. And when I introduced this to my class, they felt like it was kind of overwhelming with all of the things you can do. But once you get into this loop, it really is just pick a robot, move a robot, do the thing. Pick a robot, move a robot, do the thing. And then you start thinking, well, I want to buy these items. Well, I want to get this pipe because it connects to the thing that I want and it's going to score me lots of points. And then how do I do that? And which robot do I need to move to get to the place that I need to get the thing done that I need to get to? And then which of these ideas can you slot into which of these robots to let them move further, to let them move backwards, to help them get extra resources, to work towards whatever that goal is that you're trying to get to? And which items should you buy? And should you get an item that scores a lot when you have 3 of them and then cross your fingers that you can get all 3 of them? Should you focus on items that score only on 1 or on 2 of the same kind of item? Lots of thought that can be put into trying to figure out the best way to score points, and there's a variety of different ways to interact with this game and a whole variety of different ways to score points in this game. And also when you're moving the robots, you have to start thinking about what does the robot do for the opponent if I put that robot in that location? Because wherever it ends up is where it's going to move from next if the opponent decides to interact with that robot. Because again, everyone is interacting with the same 4 robots. So whatever you're doing is setting up the next turn after you. And you really have to pay attention to not only where are you moving to, but then where are you not allowing them to move to next. Because remember, each location has 2 spaces in it. And you can choose to move less than your maximum movement for any of these robots. So sometimes it might be worth stopping in the first spot of a location. Sometimes it might be worth going to the second spot if you can reach it to determine or change the maximum distance where that robot's going. And this is especially important in solo because in the solo mode, the AI is always moving maximum distance. So you can really judge and really influence where the AI might be able to move that robot to on its next turn. But also you're setting up your own next turns because remember, they leapfrog over each other as they're moving, not counting the space they're skipping. So if you can move a robot in front of another, then you can extend the distance that the next robot can move because you've taken away one of the spaces in front of it with that first robot. So there's lots of sort of planning and timing and spatial stuff going on, but then there's this also really cool resource management set collection stuff happening with a variety of different ways to spend the same resources that can ultimately score you points in a variety of different ways, ultimately knowing you can only ever hold 7 of those cubes at any one time on your board. So you do need to spend things while you're collecting things, or you're just going to grow up a bunch of resources and then basically run out of time to spend them when somebody else starts getting the stuff that you want to get, and they're the colors that you have may or may not be useful anymore. Really, really fun, interesting decisions happening here with a very, very simple core mechanical loop in the game, and I think that's really, really cool. So the solo mode in this as well definitely works pretty well. I mean, as I said, you are sort of able to judge where a robot could move on the AI's turn and where it cannot move to, and based on what you do, you're influencing that, and you can definitely set up or sort of unset up, prevent the setup of the AI with what you're doing. Because the AI is running on a deck of cards, just like you, except realistically what they're doing is they're taking the other 3 decks of cards that you're not using. So they have 3 copies of every card in their deck. They're going to shuffle them up, and they're just going to turn them over one by one and activate whatever it says, except that when they turn over a card that shows locations on it, they're going to activate every robot that's in those locations. So if all of the robots are in all of those locations, they could move all 4 robots. And not only that, they're going to start at the top of the card and work their way down. So it might even be that a robot moves from a location that's the top of the card to a location that's the bottom of the card, meaning that same robot gets activated twice on their turn. So there's still quite a bit of unknown as far as not just the robot can move to this space based on how you set it up, but then it might move again, and you can't predict when that's going to happen. And you can also not predict which robot's going to move at any given time, which works just like the multiplayer game, except that the robots or the AI is not really making smart decisions about how it's moving, but it does still feel like you're playing against an opponent. And they are absolutely going to be sniping things from the items and the pipes and the ideas that you might be trying to get yourself, and you really have to pay attention to how is that happening and when is that happening and when should I make sure that I get something so the AI doesn't get it. And it really works well because also the way that the AI drafts or buys tiles at the idea, item, and pipe sections, it never pays any resources. So it's automatically going to buy something every time it goes to one of those spots, which is also sort of running up the timer on this game because remember, as soon as their board is full of stuff, that's the end of the game. But they're going to select the tile based on the color of the robot that lands there. Yellow is the first tile, blue is the second tile, green is the third tile, and red is the fourth tile, always. So you can definitely start planning that when a robot goes there, this is the thing that they're going to take, and that colored robot's over here, and that colored robot's over here, so this position in that slider is safe. So I know if I don't buy that, I'm okay. But this one may not be safe, so if I don't buy this right now, it might be gone by the time it's my turn again. And all of this really feels good, and I think it may even feel better than the multiplayer game. I've only played this once multiplayer now. But this extra idea of sort of not just outthinking your opponent, but also manipulating your opponent feels like it's quite a bit stronger in the solo mode. And then also the extra addition in the solo mode is that because the AI is never using resources, there's no reason for it to collect resources. So instead what happens in the solo game, all of the resources you would normally be just taking from the supply start somewhat seated on the board. So there's a couple of green, a couple of yellow, a couple of blue, a couple of white, 2 each. And then 4 energy on the board at the start of the game. And anytime you take energy or resources, the engrams, they come directly from the board and only from the board. So if there's nothing on the board, you can't take a resource. And then anytime the AI lands on one of those resource spots, they're seeding more stuff from the supply onto the board, giving you more opportunity to take more of those resources, but also at the end of the game, any resources that are left on the board will count as negative points for yourself. So green and blue engrams will be -2 points, white and yellow will be -1, and energy will be -0.5 point each. So you really need to decide not just how do I get this stuff off the board, but anytime I'm spending resources to buy something, I can choose to either put them back into the supply or put them back onto the board, but I have to put all of them back onto the board or back to the supply. Which means if I put them back to the supply, they're not on the board to score negative points at the end of the game, but if I put them back in the supply, it means they're also not on the board for me to take to use for other things later. So early game, I want lots of stuff on the board. And late game, I really want to pull everything off and try and get it all back to the supply as much as possible. And this adds an additional wrinkle to the game that really feels like an interesting puzzle to try and figure out and solve. And it just feels really good. Now, there are a couple of other small modules in the game. There are a variety of different item tiles and a variety of different idea tiles, and I've kind of already talked about most of them in this video. But there's also a second set or an additional set of forest cards that show sort of polyomino shapes on the cards that are connected to the pipe tiles. And they say that if you build the pipes in a certain configuration or a certain shape, when you land on the forest spot, instead of taking normal forest cards, if you have a shape matching one of the polyomino shapes on these cards, you can take that card to score endgame points for having built that shape. And I really like this addition to the game because it really adds an extra layer to the pipe scoring and the pipe, just the whole mechanism of the pipes in general. Because now it's just not about connecting things by spending the right resources, fitting the right size of pipe, and hopefully looking for birds and butterflies. It's also all about building out specific shapes to score these specific numbers of points. But unfortunately, in the solo mode, I have now played a couple times with and without that, and definitely when I play with that, my scores are much higher, and it's much easier for me to beat the solo game. Now, that said, when I play without it, it's very, very tough, and I really do have to fight to win. So it might be good as a sort of easy mode for the game, but I do want to point out that it definitely does make the game quite a bit easier, so I don't know whether or not it's a good idea to include it in solo, but when I play multiplayer, at least with real gamers, or sorry, not real gamers, but more advanced or more experienced gamers, I will absolutely always play with that in there because it does add that nice little twist to make the pipe decision making a little bit more interesting and a little bit more fun to play with, and maybe a little bit more competitive when opponents are all trying to fight over those shapes. The problem though, again, is that the AI doesn't ever score any of those shapes, so it does give you a little bit of an unfair advantage. There are also two tiles in the game that I've never played with because I haven't played multiplayer enough with people who are actually experienced with this game. And I don't think you can really make use of these in solo, although you could again and just do it sort of as an easy mode with these. But there are two tiles you can put out on the board in the two major resource areas, where the yellow and green are and where the blue and white resources are, that instead of taking a resource, you can actually spend something or return something from your board. So returning an item or returning an idea from your board back into the discard to score points right then and there, which is kind of interesting because there are some times when you get a single item of a set, and if you only have one, it's worth 0 points. And if you can get more of it, it's worth more points. But maybe there's no way for you to ever get more of that set because it's either been discarded already or your opponent's already taken it. Well, in that case, you could get rid of that to score points in the middle of the game. And I think that having that option there does help sort of iron out some of those times when you end up with bad tiles. But again, the AI will never use that. And the AI is taking tiles randomly anyway, so it's the one that would really need to be making use of that for it to matter. So I've never played with it in the solo mode, but it is cool that it's there. And I think probably if I played this enough multiplayer with people who are actually playing this game a lot, I would absolutely make use of it. And I think it's really cool that it's there. But I think that's pretty much all I can say about this game. I am a huge fan. I am still shocked that I've never really heard anyone talk about this game. It does a really good job of showing off a rondel without having super crunchy, difficult mechanisms, which a lot of rondel games tend to do. Really fun set collection, really interesting resource management with lots of sort of different pathways to score based on that same rondel mechanism of picking up resources and spending resources. It adds a little bit of a sort of tile laying spatial puzzler with the pipe stuff. It adds, yeah, all kinds of different little connections, the way that everything connects together. And every time I play this, I have a whole lot of fun. I love mixing different ideas and different items to see how it varies the game. It doesn't change the game dramatically, but absolutely the game feels different depending on which items and which ideas you have and how they interact with the different sets at the same time, and how all of those little things play off of each other as you play. Big fan of this game. Definitely want to take a look at this designer and this company because I don't know any of their other games, and I did peek on BGG, and there are quite a few of other games from this company, so it's definitely one I want to take a look at. Anyway, nice surprise for me. I hope this was a nice surprise for you. There's not much else that I can say. As always, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I do ask that you please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.